On September 28th, 2009, inspirational speaker Simon Sinek gave a beloved TED Talk on purpose and meaning. His beautifully written TED Talk can be summed up with the following phrase:
People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
When I first read those lines in his later book, Serves Why, it provided a lot of context as to why I felt out of place in a uniform and uninspiring world. I've always felt different in the way that I strive to achieve different things from the rest of the world. Most people want to fit in with the rest of the pack and never raise their hand in class. Meanwhile, I'm sitting over here in the corner of the room wondering if I've asked enough questions. The difference made me feel isolated from the rest of the pack, like I was playing a whole nother ball game than them. It's almost like when Dr. Seuss says, "Why fit in when you're born to stand out?" He's directly speaking about me and how I felt unique, even isolated from the rest of my class. I think in large part for this difference is my own why, as Simon Sinek puts it. In his sequel book, Find Your Why, Sinek devised a simple formula for people to use when coming up with their own purpose or why. In his TED Talk and books, Simon Sinek illustrates the process of finding your why through his golden circle, a diagram depicting how a person or company, what they do, how they do it, and why they do it, in layers of circles. The outer layer of the circle is the object's what, their actions and products they create. This is what everyone sees on the outside. A little deeper is the how, the methods behind the process of making those actions and products. Fewer people know about this, but intuitively understand it once they explain to them. Then there's the why, lying at the core of the circle. This is the purpose behind the subject's actions and products, their meaning behind what they do. Most people do not get to understand this at all, even when explained to them. That's because it touches on unexplainable emotions that are really hard to describe with words. A gut feeling that can't really be explained or understood properly through words. Despite this lack of understanding the why, is what makes great companies to do the best of the world. Despite this lack of understanding in the why, is what makes so many of these great companies into the best companies in the entire world. Apple's relentless pursuit to challenge the status quo made them not just an electronic company, but a movement of unconformity and individualism. The Wright brothers' pursuit to make flying accessible to everyone made them the only ones to successfully make a flying aircraft. These two lone examples are why Simon Sinek points them out, not because they're successful in their own department, but also because their why is defined, they're mission-driven, and they have a purpose. After finishing Start With Why, I went on to read Find Your Why, a sequel to the book that helps readers find their own purpose and why. In the book, Sinek lays out a formula for finding your own why. To blank, so that blank, with the first blank representing your what and your how, and the second blank representing your why. In other words, the first blank represents what you do to achieve your why, and the second blank is your own why statement. And as I completed reading this book, I knew I wanted to create some sort of why that connects me with my own personal art that I create, no matter how messy or bad it really is. And that why is to create art so that others can learn that they were never missing anything all along. It seems so deceptively simple, doesn't it? I mean, it's really only two fill in the blanks for this specific formula. Why isn't anyone doing it? The fact that I'm thinking about finding my why already puts me on a trajectory far beyond most people in the world. According to Robert Kegan's model of adult development, 35% of the adult population are in the self-authoring mind. This means that only 35% of the entire world has found their why. That leaves only roughly 2.8 billion people who have found their why out of 8.2 billion. This also means, on average, people tend to go through their lives without meaning or purpose. Why does this infuriate me? Because no one's willing to push themselves to find out who they truly are on the inside. This is because humans have evolved to crave predictability as a safety net for when life gets too hard for them. According to a study conducted by Hannah Kienzler, high levels of uncertainty lead to worsening mental health problems, such as depression and anxiety. Our brains are literally built to avoid uncertainty for our own survival. That's when we don't know when our next food source is going to come during the winter, so our bodies go into stress overdrive to compensate. Is this suitable in a modern context? No, of course it doesn't. The uncertainty is what causes us to miss out on job opportunities and interviews with other companies, even dating. We don't push past our limits because most people can't literally overcome their evolutionary instinct for their own happiness. They don't have the courage to risk rejection and ask that one girl out because their ancestors built them for a world that no longer exists anymore. Now, I'm not saying I don't fault them for feeling this way. I have myself felt a lot of self-esteem issues as I was growing up. So I feel like I never really felt good enough to do what I wanted to do in the future. Don't really believe me? I get it, but I'll tell you my story and then you be the judge. I remember my mom telling me when I was only 2 years old, I was able to pick up a Nintendo DS, sit in a doctor's office, and use my tiny little fingers to play Speed Racer. My mom wanted to see if there was any underlying condition that I had, and the doctor walked up to my ROM and told her everything was fine. It's just that my cognitive abilities far exceeded anyone at my age. Now, I'm not really trying to paint myself as some kind of prodigy or anything like that, but I'm trying to paint in context of what a creative, adventurous, and bold child really looked like. I remember trying to express my creativity to the rest of my kindergarten class through repeated lines of my favorite video games and TV shows to other kids. And that although it felt good to be drunk with my own imagination, everyone thought that I was a freak. They never reciprocated any of my imaginative reenactments, and always made sure to sit far away from me as possible. One particular day, I made a shirt that repeated a line from my favorite video game at the time, Sly Cooper 3, and no one cared to look at it. They thought it was weird, unorthodox, and didn't belong into the classroom. They saw myself as unfiltered, wild creativity. They thought my unfiltered, wild creativity didn't belong to a uniform, basic American classroom. So I hid it. Sat alone at lunch. Isolated myself from the rest of my classmates. Never talked to anyone. Stayed quiet. Because I thought it would be better to blend in with the crowd than risk having to lose his protection. I became a codependent of other people's expectations of me, whether it's through grades, emotional control, or natural charisma. Yes, it got better in middle and high school, since the art school I went to helped relieve me of my creative prison. But I still felt tied to what other people have thought of me and how I should react when I didn't become the star player in their eyes. It wasn't until my first year of college when I really finally felt the weight of my chains. Coming from a 4.4 unweighted and 4.0 weighted GPA in high school, it felt like a guillotine chopping my head when I found myself failing my first class, or rather, my entire semester. I didn't even want to look people in the eye. I just felt like I was some sort of monster that went down a hideous path that everyone didn't want them to go down. I felt like I was an imposter, hiding under a mask tasked with earning a protection program in a crowd that never understood what it meant to be your true self. I felt like I was broken in some way, irredeemable in the eyes of other people. All of this time, I thought there was something missing, something forgotten, something I left behind in a distant past that was the missing piece to fitting in a jigsaw puzzle of the perfect crowd I was trying to appease. Put simply, I felt lost. I thought I lost something along the way that I made myself irredeemable in the eyes of the crowd. It made me feel like I never really found my place in this crazy world that we live in. But the thing is, how did I end up finding what I was looking for? Meditation can sometimes be a frowned upon practice. People may look at meditation practices and think they're insecure, too anxiety-induced, too awkward. Something only reserved for people trying to cope with their own trials of life. That's what I thought at first. But then I realized this could be my only way out. Many studies like Harvard's Gael Desportes reported to have decreased amount of depression, anxiety, and stress. A dedicated practice that serves as the pill to an illness I've been suffering from my whole life. I quite frankly thought it was a scam. How something so simple like this possibly helped me figure out how to be an adult? Even though I was skeptical, I knew I had no other options. So after my failed semester, I decided to meditate for 20 minutes, twice a day, for an entire month during my next semester. I felt this was the best way to be able to manage the storm that was brewing in my inner soul, as I navigated what it meant to be a fully functioning adult. After a month had passed with my meditation sessions, I finally realized that it's more important to be present in the moment rather than worrying about the future. I spent all of this time, all my years of my life, just worrying about the future, worrying about what's going to happen next, worrying about whether I will survive whatever catastrophes will come my way. And then I realized that meditation really helped me in the fact that I don't have to worry about any of that. It made me realize it's okay to fail at what you set out to achieve for, like my first semester in college. It made me realize that it's okay that you are not number one all the time. It always made me realize that it's okay to not always be the perfect figure that everyone thinks you are. Because of this, I was finally able to go beyond my studies and join some clubs at my school. I met some of the funniest, most interesting, and most extraordinary people I've ever met in my entire life, especially the schools of Super Smash Bros. And FGC Club. I remember when I signed up for my first Smash Ultimate tournament at school, before I started my meditation sessions, I rage quit after my winner's bracket set. Luckily I didn't throw a controller, but I was angry enough to ask the TO to DQ me and then leave the venue. After the session, I realized that the road to mastery was never meant to be rushed for the sake of appeasing the crowd's appetite for insatiable skill. Rather, it's a slow grind that requires patience and gratitude for the grind itself. It was around this time when I was allowed to switch into English, a major that I had grown up to love with over the course of my life. I had always believed that creative writing was at the heart of any form of artistic endeavor, whether it's creating your own painting or a corporate company trying to figure out their next IP. The ability for a writer to create meaning and rhetoric from words and stories alone is something that always fascinated me as a kid. I would always turn on video game music and just walk around in circles, daydreaming about fictional characters in a story I would concoct with my own nation of an imagination. Even though English is a major that doesn't give you the big bucks, it still connects you with a bigger purpose that is beyond the reach of just your mortal body. But out of all the majors that exist, why English? According to Johann Berger's book, Contagious, there are 6 main factors that make an idea contagious, abbreviated by STEPS, with the last letter representing stories. According to the University of Delaware, not only does storytelling generate significant neural activity, but also causes the brain to release the chemical oxytocin, which is often associated with empathy and cooperation. From my own understanding, this is how we have communicated with other human beings, by sharing our own personal stories that we use to connect with other tribes and other people that we may not know. Human beings are social creatures, and without tools to help connect yourselves with the rest of the tribe, you're not going to have much luck surviving. And so those ancestors who have connected with others through their storytelling talents have managed to survive and stay with the tribe. And so these ancestors who have connected with other ancestors through this storytelling technique and practice are able to survive for longer and be able to live to fight another day. I mentioned earlier in the video that creative writing is at the heart of everything humans create, whether it is art or a corporate product. That's why stories are so important to us humans. It's what gives us meaning. It's what gives us purpose. That's why so many great pieces of art have some kind of story behind it, even though that's not what a lot of people say. You know, there's a lot of speculation around Mario Kart not being a piece of art. There's a lot of speculation around Donkey Kong not really being a piece of art because Nintendo is a company that never incentivizes any sort of narrative or cohesive plot in their stories. But the thing is, a lot of the times, people make those stories. People make those sort of meanings because we can't help ourselves. We humans are a species of meaning, of purpose. Whenever there's not meaning or purpose, we make one. That's why when a lot of nihilists are talking and they say they have a problem with not saying there's not a real purpose behind anything, the solution to them is to find meaning on their own. We literally can't live without meaning. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning proves this fact elegantly, in that prisoners literally died if they didn't have a purpose behind their desire to escape. So that 65% of people who have not figured out a meaning are literally dying. We need stories not because they simply entertain us, but because they give us meaning. They give us a purpose. They give us something to work for. They give us meaning behind this endless, vast universe. They tell us what it means to be human. Not nearly enough people emphasize this point enough. Everyone dumps on art just because it's not a practical occupation in a world that prioritizes economic growth, safety, stability, and conformity. Everyone dumps on art because it doesn't give you the money to support your family or help you buy that fancy boat you'll never use. Everyone dumps on art because they want to make themselves feel good for trying to blend in with the rest of the crowd who is trying to win the rat race of happiness. But not everyone believes that art, like creative writing, has the ability to change and reshape cultures forever. That's why so many movies, TV shows, and video games are terrible today, because these studios executives don't understand that art is supposed to give you purpose, not take it. Executives can't rely on art to make money because they never dived into what it means to make their own art. If they really wanted to make money with art, they should be in Wall Street instead. This is why, from middle school onward, I've worked to make creative writing the reminder everyone needs to appreciate why they are placed on this earth. I've worked to hone my writing skills by finishing a 50,000 word novel in a month, thrice. I've worked to hone my writing skills by going to club meetings every week for a year during college. I've worked to hone my skills in writing by realizing that if I wanted people to escape their average mindset problem, I need to write an entertaining story that inspires them to get off the couch and do something with their life. That's why Uncle Tom's Cabin is such an essential example for why I believe writing can change society. That novel kickstarted the turning point in the American abolitionist movement that changed the course of human history forever. Why can't we do the same? Uncle Tom's Cabin is a prime example, I think, of the impact I want to create with all of my machinimas that I plan to work on. Machinimas are my outlet to express my creative writing skills in a monetizable, budget-friendly, crowd-approved, and authentic way that I think would make the most impact right now. It's my own way to help people realize that they're not really missing anything all along. But MosieMaster, Minecraft isn't real art. Why can't you literally just pick anything else? Why, specifically, Minecraft machinimas? When I said I wanted to create art so that others can learn that they were never missing anything all along, and use that as my own why, it wasn't always the one that I always used. Originally, I thought my why was to create art so that others can learn to accept themselves and others for who they are. I had always believed that I wanted to be in service to people. But was it because I wanted to shield them from their own masks? Or was it my own mask that I was trying to hide from? The Enneagram is a personality spectrum that aims to highlight the central motivations and beliefs of our own character. Unlike most personality tests, like the MBTI, where participants are tested based on external actions, the Enneagram tests participants on their own internal beliefs. What they believe in, what they will die for, what their why is. I found out about the Enneagram through a book called The Road Back to You, and I wanted to consume something that I can easily read through or listen to an audiobook of while I was at work. I wanted to look for a book that will shape me to my very core, one that will break me apart into small, tiny pieces and force me to put them back up again. I didn't do it because I loved the pain that came with it, but I did it because I loved the challenge of finding out my true self after I'd been living under a facade for so long. The Enneagram is divided into 9 different personality types, each with unique motivations for a character. The book starts off with its introduction, and at first, I was of course skeptical that a long introduction was necessary to provide the basis of a silly personality test. I figured, okay, maybe I'll just take an Enneagram online exam, and then I'll be that. I probably won't need to read further to find out who I am. Returning to my original why, which is to create art so that others can learn to accept themselves and others for who they are. I was convinced that I was probably a type 2, a personality characterized by intense empathy, warm-heartedness, and sincereness. Their basic fears include being unwanted, and unworthy of being loved, and their basic desire is to simply feel loved. For a really long time, I figured since I've been so blessed and lucky to live the life that I'm currently living it right now, it would kind of be a disservice to me and the rest of the world if I were to have all of my stories that I have inside of my head to die with me. It would be a disservice in the fact that I wouldn't bless other people's lives with my own personal stories and novels that I wish to create and maybe help them out with their journey too. Doesn't that seem like a disservice to you? So I proved it with my kindness toward anyone I met. I remember one time a family member unplugged my Nintendo Switch on accident to get an HDMI cord, disconnecting me from a ranked match I had with my friends. He was so focused on the fact that he just interrupted my match while I was playing, but I was more focused on soothing his guilt he was feeling. Who cares if I lost one ranked match with my friends? I couldn't let my loved one feel bad that he interrupted my alone time. I never was good at confrontations, at all. I could never raise my voice at anyone. I didn't, because I knew if I did, I would have to be there to pick up the pieces I threw all over the place. And I would rather hold it in and avoid any potential storm than to stir one up just to barely cope with what I was feeling. Everyone lashes out on other people for no apparent reason or just because. But to what end? A messed up jigsaw puzzle that really has no one else to pick it up for itself other than the mess itself? That's why I've always felt that I was a type 2. This risk-averse nature of mine in social situations made me kind of a sweetheart to most, but also a little bit of a pushover. This is what my Enneagram online exams proved to me. My most prominent numbers are 1, 2, and 3 by a very large and considerable margin. So I was thinking, okay, I'm destined to be the Pinkie Pie, the always cheerful person, to always pick up the mess whenever there is a mess. But then I kept reading. Curious? I then asked ChatGPT what kind of personality I was. Dystopian, cheeky, weird, whatever you want to call it. It was really just another resource that I used to help discover who I am. So I asked it what kind of personality I was, and then I took a moment to think. Type 4, the individualist, the romantic, the artist. Characterized by emotional honesty, creativity, and self-awareness, Type 4s are the ones that yearn for truth and expression, whether it's in art, their own lives, or anything else really. These are the guys that go to a movie theater, cry their eyes out, and then use that emotion as introspection and self-reflection. They literally use art to improve themselves as human beings. At first, I didn't really connect with the Type 4 purely for the fact that I wanted to help people more than find meaning. At least that's what I thought. But what the online Enneagram test failed to tell me was that it was only testing me on my own actions, rather than what I personally believe in as a central motivation to my human character. So even though I tested high on the Type 2, it was really because I acted like a Type 2. The reason why so many of these artists fall into the Type 4 personality is because of their super high introspection and ability to self-reflect, just as you can probably see with this video. So as I started to read and learn more about Type 4s, my Type 2 theories suddenly started to not add up. Upon closer inspection, I saw no connection between my Type 4 discovery and my Type 2 relationship, until I kept reading. Turns out, a Type 4 stress wing, or the personality they become when unhealthy, is a Type 2. When a Type 4 is stressed, they want to make people happy to compensate. This means I've continued to fall for this facade that I've continued to build for myself, even though I'm actively trying to avoid it. In his book, Kron explains that, as a Type 4, the main problem these guys face is the fact that they're missing something. Something that will help them finally blend in with the crowd that has misunderstood them for so long. Something that will foster connection with people that are so beyond the reach of their own world that they have to pamper it down their own personality and talents to be understood. I've always felt like I had to listen to the advice of many YouTube gurus and make as many videos as I possibly could so that I have more chances to appease the algorithm and get more practice making better videos. But in the process of consistently doing all of these videos and trying to get practice with uploading more videos, I realized that I was losing why I made the channel in the first place. I didn't start my channel to make Minecraft challenge videos and follow trends other YouTube channels were following. I didn't start my channel to optimize SEO, thumbnails, and titles just to force more clicks rather than earn them. I didn't start my channel to make money off of doing things that I love. I started my channel to write stories about how two siblings debate about the best approaches to growing a YouTube channel. I started my channel to write stories about how an anime fangirl gets marriage counseling for her husbando. I started my channel to express myself in ways I cannot have done before. I think with all of that being said, I'm done chasing views. Every YouTube channel that wants to make it focuses on views as the best currency for how your channel is improving. It's what every YouTube guru uses to track your progress. It's what helps you get more money per video. It's what makes you feel validated in your own work you put so much hard work into. But at what cost? All of these videos that I've been making leading up to this point, I felt were soulless in the fact that I was chasing after attention and eyeballs in a way that was corrupting the essence of my own channel. I felt I was trying to fill a void that was never meant to be filled by rushing content that was nowhere near as vulnerable, introspective, and deep as I thought it could. I've been worried that if I didn't upload consistently, I wouldn't be able to grow my YouTube channel and make my work worth it in the end. In reality, I confuse consistency with constantly, never realizing that there are many YouTube channels who upload after long periods of time and still are successful. It took me a long time to realize that, unlike popular belief, YouTube prioritizes quality over quantity, something I never really realized up to this point. I've always thought that authentic, introspective videos never really have a place for the modern YouTube algorithm, and that the style of old YouTube videos from 2011 no longer really have a place today. But in reality, those old videos that were from 2011 that spoke to the heart, to the soul, to the purpose of human beings, it really just took another form. I realized this when I was researching different forms of content that never really survived outside of authentically made videos just because they were a short-term trend or nothing really stuck out to the eyes of many people. In the late 2010s, videos were focused on sensationalized titles and thumbnails to get viewers to click on the video. Then the adpocalypse rolled around and YouTube required those channels to calm down. What stuck around? Authentically made videos. In the early 2020s, TikTok was blowing up with low-effort viral dances that became a trend across social media, flooding YouTube with lots of low-effort edits and videos. But like any trend, it really became out of fashion after people realized it was just the same thing all over again. What stuck around? Authentically made videos. A similar thing may happen with AI videos. They're the most popular videos right now with zero creativity behind most of the videos created. The result could be people being tired of AI and wanting more authentic, creative videos. What will stick around? Authentically made videos. Because AI will make them even more scarce and valuable. I thought I was missing some secret formula for making my videos go viral. I thought that I had to find a cheat code to optimize myself for the algorithm that got me the most eyeballs. I thought I had to make addicting content like Mr. Beast to help me get more views. But turns out, I never was missing anything all along. All my machinimas that I worked on in this channel have gotten far more comments that genuinely have showed appreciation and love for the craft of the videos involved. And I'm eternally grateful that the comments are not instead first, or blank views in 1 second, blow fair off. They all genuinely were appreciative of my authenticity and vulnerability in making these videos. Okay, Mosie, we get it. You want to make Minecraft machinimas. But why did you really make this video? Is there really something you're not telling us? When I was in college, I wanted to join a lot of different clubs and activities that are able to help me make new friends, make new connections, make new memories. And you might think, oh, this is totally normal. So what's so wrong about it? But in reality, I am lonely. But not for the reason you might think. I'm not lonely in the sense of connection. I've made so many friends through my clubs at school that I have a whole lanyard signed with all my friends that I got to know from my Super Smash Bros. And FGC clubs alone. I'm lonely in the sense that I never really found anyone that has shared my why. In Pat Flynn's best-selling book, Superfans, he describes 4 unique levels of fandom that correlate with an audience member's connection with an artist, structured as a pyramid. He calls it the pyramid of fandom, but I call it the law of Mosie evolution. The first layer of Flynn's pyramid are the casual fans. This layer of the pyramid describes fans who have just discovered the artist in question, whether it's through a blog post, YouTube video, or social media post. These are the people who haven't subscribed, bought merch, or consumed any of the artist's media. They're the curious wanderers, only tasting the waters of purpose, often needing a reason to stay for long. I propose I call these fans the Mosie minnows. The second layer of Flynn's pyramid are the active fans. These fans actively follow the artist on social media, subscribe to the email list, and regularly consume their content. They occasionally engage with the rest of the community through social media or comment on an artist's posts. They are the listeners, finding something real in their message, but can't take action unless called to do so. I call these fans the Mosie mice. This is where it starts to get interesting. The third layer of Flynn's pyramid are the connected fans. This is where fans start to form bonds with not only the artist, but other fans who subscribe to them. They're the ones who are actively talking about the artist to their friends and family, and are there in the forums, spreading the word. They are the protectors, feeling called to defend the artist's mission and called to work beside them. I call this layer their Mosie Minotaurs. Then, at the very top of the pyramid, there are the superfans, the needle in the haystack, the canary in the coal mine, the cream of the crop. The fans that buy everything the artist releases, advocate for their brand, and spread their word without asking. They're the ones that are active moderators of the artist's community, the ones that the artists work with, the ones that are there for them no matter what. They are not just fans, they are legacy bearers. They embody the mission. They don't just follow, they become part of your mission. I call these kings and queens Mosie Manticores. I used to think the main purpose of this channel was to make the next 9.8 star out of 10 on IMDb that even beats Breaking Bad. I thought I wanted to make a YouTube channel just to make myself prove to myself that I can become a phenomenal writer in the 21st century. Now I realize the real purpose of starting this channel was to make friends. If you're here to escape your loneliness by pretending we have some sort of personal bond, if you're here for all of the chaos, the drama, or cling to me for emotional validation, if you admire what I do, but are not committed to your own personal growth, then I don't want you here. I want to make friends with the Minotaurs and the Manticores that consume my content not just for entertainment. I want to make friends with people who share my own why, even though it may be phrased differently for each person. I want to make friends with people who are able to critique me as a person, as a YouTuber, and potentially as a CEO one day. I want to make friends with people who are able to push me past my limits when I don't want to. If any of these words resonate with you at all, then please, I beg of you, please subscribe to this channel. I want to get to know you. I want to work with you one day. I want to be able to hang out with some of the crazy and imaginative people I can meet. I want to meet people like you who share my own why and my own purpose in this crazy world that we live in. I want to meet people like you who go against the grain of society and do whatever they feel like they need to do to achieve their own mission that we share. If you're tired of the prevalent average mindset problem plaguing your life, if you're tired of that dead-end job that you have no way out of and you're bored out of your mind, or you just want to feel less alone, less socially isolated in your own life, then please subscribe. I want to make content for you and you only. I want to make content that resonates with you and you only. And I want to keep making that content. I want to keep making that content so that one day I will finally get a chance to meet you. So what does the future of the channel look like now that you got to know me a bit more? On paper, you can see me as the perfect rebel. I love rock and roll, I love video games, I love anime, and I love making art. These things alone already make me the prime example of a rebel according to prominent media sentiment throughout modern history. But in reality, I don't remember a single mean-spirited interaction I've had with anyone in a really long time. I've always was the kind of person whose kindness never really got them in trouble with anyone. I have phenomenal relationships with my family, coworkers, bosses, and friends alike, none of which have talked anything behind my back. I'm very fortunate to have an image that people can't help but root for, no matter how much you know me. But I have a feeling that might change one day. You can probably tell from some of my past videos that I'm definitely a more bold risk taker when it comes to making art. If you were to assign me a D&D alignment based on my art, you'd probably put me somewhere in the chaotic row. I don't play around when it comes to making any form of art. If it's true and raw, it must be put in. This definitely scares a lot of people away, especially those who may be in the average mindset themselves. And that's because I'm the one thing they are afraid of. Unpredictable. I always want to make the best art I possibly can. And that often involves going beyond convention most people are accustomed to. I might scare a lot of people away that way, but honestly, I never really wanted them anyway. This will truly come to fruition when I release my 3 beloved brain children stories that I've been planning since sophomore year of college. These stories are what I've been constantly daydreaming about. The characters I construct while listening to music and walking in circles in my own bedroom. They are bold, unique, brave in their own audacity to express themselves for who they are. They are Project Oppenfear, Project Bloomkrieg, and Project Hypeshima. I want to tell you about them, but that wouldn't spoil the surprise, would it? Why show you trinkets when I can show you the full necklace one day? These stories are, in a word, bold. And that could cause people to feel scared. So scared that the only way for them to cope or process it is to take it out on me. I'm the creator, right? They should have the duty to pull me out of the spotlight, because that's how cancel culture works, right? Once that happens, the perfect persona I have cultivated my entire life and the entire crowd seeing for the very first time will fade away, and I will become public enemy number 1. So I decided to take it slow, at least at first. I want to be able to earn your trust before we dive into the deep end. Make some safe, predictable machinimas that cater to the crowd. Make an audience that thinks they know who I am. In the meantime, gather up all of the Minotaurs and Minotaurs that stumble across my content. That way, when the time comes, I won't be starting from scratch on the trust pendulum scale. But one day, all of my projects will be released, and you may or may not hate me. If you watched up to this point, the chances are you probably have resonated with a lot of this video. All things considered, if you're in the average mindset, but are thinking about changing, go for it. I gave a lot of trash on the average mindset problem, but I never wanted it to be an all us versus them sort of thing. If you feel that you can change yourself after hearing my words, then by all means, do it. I believe anyone has the ability to go from a minnow to a manticore if they fully believe in themselves. Now, I can't tell you what to do in that department, but only you have the ability to do that. But, however, I do trust that you have the ability to make good choices in that you will be able to find the path yourself. That being said, if you still think you don't want to risk your emotional safety for personal growth, that's completely okay. My doors are always open for you. But if any of these words have resonated with you at all, if any of my words speak to you in any sort of way, maybe they called out a truth of yourself that you didn't know about, or that you finally realized that you need to do some soul searching to find your purpose, then stick around. I have tons of plans for you. Thank you for watching. And now, a MosieMaster cover. Weren't expecting that one, were ya?
I got us a tub of certified horse electrolytes that we're all gonna take a big sip of right now before we start.
Bro, every week Doug's like, don't worry, I got a cold open.
Val, your butt has more fans than your music. Hey, yo!
Excuse me?
Nice! Do what you gotta do.
Yup. Womp womp.
It was 2 years ago today. MosieMaster showed his video. He's been going in and out of style, but he's guaranteed to raise a smile. So may I introduce to you a new beginning for you all. MosieMaster's Manticore Club Band. Oh yeah. Manticore Club Band. Wonderful you'd be here. It's certainly a thrill. You're such a lovely audience. We'd like to take you home. This does we love you, take you home. I don't really want to stop the show, but I thought you might like to know. YouTuber's gonna sing a song, and he wants you all to sing along. So let me introduce to you the only one community, MosieMaster Manticore Club Band. Oh yeah.